Welcome, hello, and thank you for joining me. My name's Travis, and it's a pleasure to guide you through this yin sequence. As you can see, I'm dressed in warm woolly clothes. I've got some socks on. The room I'm in is quite cold because it is deep winter where I live in Australia. And yin is especially lovely in winter. And to connect that with the traditional Chinese medicine, winter is the season of water. So water is about fluidity and flow and movement of the qi within our body. And it is the most yin season, winter. So with the traditional Chinese medicine aspect of the yin practice, we have a paired meridian. And those paired meridians for the element of water is firstly the yin organ is the kidneys. Now, the kidneys are the storehouse of our vital essences and one of those very important organs in our body. And the yang organ is the urinary bladder. And so with meridians, we can think of them as lines that trace along our body. So through our practice today, I'll be momentarily clipping these lines and creating blockages that will build up the fluid and then allow the hydration to flow freely when we release the pose. So we go through moments of compression, and then we go through moments of release and extension and, allowing that freedom to flow. So with that in mind, why don't we just stand up for a moment? Because when we think about the yin organ of the kidneys, we can think about the movement coming from around the soles of the feet, up the inseams of the legs, through and around the reproductive organs and the fluidity of this area, across the front of the chest, and then out and out over the collarbones and widen. And then the yang organ, which is our urinary bladder, we can think of beginning between the eyebrows, crossing over the crown of the head, and then tracing down our back body. So going vertically down the body, across the big muscles that run parallel with the spine, the buttocks, backs of the legs, backs of the thighs, and eventually all the way down across the soles of the feet and through and out. And it's a nice way to start our practice in a standing position. And we'll begin to work with those two organs by just finding a standing position, feet about hip width. And I'm just going to demonstrate. There's absolutely no reason to overthink this. It's just heel stomps. So we're lifting high onto the tiptoes, and then we're just dropping down onto the heels. And with that in mind, we're moving the qi through our body, and we're pressing it down and away through the bladder meridian. So thinking of the crown of the head, we lift, and then our energy flows down and out and away. So let's do 10 of those. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And the last 5, 4, 3, 2, and the last one. Good. And then from here, let's just sort of target our kidneys with these like little crossing of the arms, swinging arms. And wherever that arm that crosses the front of the body, it slaps the back body, it's more than likely going to land somewhere around the kidneys. It is very dependent on our body type and our architecture, so don't overthink it, but just finding this little bit of freedom to flow and move, arms swinging. I didn't mention it at the start of class, but the props we'll need, they are extensive, but if you don't have them, it's okay, but blocks are great. A bolster or a cushion is wonderful, and a blanket, especially if it's winter, will be super nice as well. All right, so coming to a standing position, widening your feet, and our first pose is a forward fold. So we'll take our time to create the fold by drawing the chin towards our chest, rounding through the upper back, tucking in, dangling the hands, preparing to bend the knees if you need. And now, rather than just finding this hold in a static position, let's just encourage a bit of movement. So neck rolls, pedal the feet. So the qualities of our yin practice, I think of them as the 3 S's. So we learn to stay. We learn to develop a sensation that serves us today. So whether that is a deep, fiery feeling or something a little smoother. But if we were thinking of it on a scale, 10 being, oh, I can barely breathe here, and 1 being, I'm not feeling anything at all. We want to develop something around that 6 or 7. So this is definitely targeting the bladder meridian with all of the length along the back body, backs of the legs, feeling the soles of the feet. Could also start to encourage the eyes to close down if that's okay in your practice. Now witness yourself here. What's the sensation that you're feeling the most, and how can you soothe that? You tune into a few more deeper breaths. Allowing gravity to do the work here. Dangling the torso off the hips. Letting the head hang heavy, releasing tension across the back of the neck. And working with that concept of water. Think of how the hydration flows down the spine. And as it does, it unblocks the blockages, it unsticks the stickiness, and it gathers up all of that negativity, allowing it to well up in the crown of the head. And then with this release valve, just open it up and let that all tumble out. Tumble out and away, just like water likes to do. Flow. Creating contours of freedom, vitality, spaciousness. See if you can encourage more space across the upper back as the breath comes and goes and it massages the spine, moving in and out through the lungs. Last 10 breaths here. final few moments. Bring your hands underneath your face and let's take a halfway lift to lengthen the body out. And the next pose will be our yoga squat. So step the feet wide and feel free to grab your blocks and sit your buttocks down on the blocks if that serves you. If you don't have blocks, you could use a stack of books. Placing the hands on the insides of the legs, palms face down, and draw the chin towards your chest. With the arms on the inner thighs, you're connecting deeply with the inseams of the legs, and the channels of the kidneys. The pelvis feels super anchored on the blocks, so you can tune into how the reproductive organs rest there on the fleshy tissues of the buttocks. And the triangular base of support at the lower spine, the sacrum, tucks in and under here. And the mysticism and the clairvoyance of the third eye might be a way to connect with our bladder meridian. If you've closed down your eyes, just be a witness there to the thoughts, to the distractions. Within the traditional Chinese medicine, the elements flow in a way that's unusual to a Western mind. The association to the seasons, of which there are 5. We'd recognize 4 and we would understand the 5th. However, for those of you that live in the southern hemisphere like me, it's not as common to experience. So we have the winter element, the winter season here with the element of water attached. And we think of the color of dark inky blue, like a lake high up in the alpine regions, fed by melt water. We think of it being cool and fresh, deep and dark. Winter makes us want to go inside and away and covered underneath. Winter's a time when we think of foods that are deep in richness, highly satisfying and nourishing. And this is a chance to rebuild and recharge, which is exactly why it makes it so yin. Out in the busy world that we live in, the 21st century, we wear our busyness like a badge of honor. We're almost accustomed to being aware of when our devices are low on charge, and we immediately attend to them. But ourselves, that's another story, right? So this practice gives us time to restore, recharge, reconnect in this very winter element and experience. So as I said, this is winter and it's water, and then flows through to spring and summer. Spring is attached with the element of wood and summer with the element of fire. The season that maybe people in the Southern Hemisphere aren't as familiar with is late summer. Late summer is the earth element. And then to complete the cycle, autumn comes about, and that is metal. So those elements can feel unusual to the Western mind that's used to water, air, earth, fire, ether. But it's nonetheless a beautiful moment to tune into something different. Absorb some new knowledge, constantly learning, constantly student. Last few moments here. So if you're perched on a couple of blocks like me, feel free just to take a moment to peel yourself away from the posture you developed there, and then remove the blocks out from underneath you. And find a wide stance with the feet, a proud chest, an open throat, and maybe some windscreen wipers side to side. It feels so nice. And then bring the soles of the feet to touch. Now, this is where you could use one block, a cushion, a bolster. I'm going to sit on my little special cushion I bought in Bali and elevate my hips a little. And then take the thumbs and into the corresponding soles of the feet. Press the thumbs into the crease between the ball mounds of the feet. So not up around the toes, but about a thumbprint down and the center of the foot. And really take a time to sort of dig in, palpate and massage that part of your body. And we think of it as the meeting of the soles and the kidney meridian here, which is a beautiful way to think about it. And then from this position, with the hands on your feet, begin to flap the butterfly wings of your knees, up and down. And then just take a break, take a moment. Maybe some head circles if the neck feels fine and enjoys that kind of movement. Reversing the direction. And we'll come back to that same little flapping of our butterfly wings. We'll go for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slide the feet further away, but keep the soles of the feet touching. If you need some support under your knees or your thighs, you can always place some books or blocks there. And then we're starting to fold forward now. You can almost visualize the trace of the outer legs and the inner thighs As the wings open out wide. You can definitely feel the trace of the third eye, the space between the eyebrows, and about a thumb print further back, deep in that recess between the temples. This area of deep inner wisdom and clairvoyance. And from there you trace across the front of your forehead all the way over the crown of your head and down your back body. There's these long ropey tissues that run down the spine. You could think of them like waterfalls flowing with vital hydration. And the yin practice is a practice aimed at targeting the connective tissues in our body we know as fascia. And whilst its existence has been known for a very long time, I think the word has origins in Latin, it has been somewhat disregarded up until recently. The understanding of fascia is that it is like glad wrap, but it's so much more. It holds complete and entire musculature systems together, mapping and weaving its way through like a beautiful thread. And in some respects it's the fascia that often creates the stickiness in our bodies. So these connective tissues respond really well to a slower, more deliberate approach to extension and compression. As our nervous system responds to a slip or a fall, those are instant messages that need to be dealt with immediately, and our nervous system does an excellent job of that, along with the muscles and the ligaments and the joints and the bones. And that defensive nature of the nervous system needs to be switched off so that we can allow the body to feel into its subtlety, to open into its possibilities. And that's done with the tool of the breath, with the stillness of the pose, with the alertness of the sensation, and staying. This one will hold for another 10 breaths. Starting to peel yourself up and away from the earth. Doing so Mindfully and slowly, removing any props out from under your thighs, looking for your bolster and taking your bolster behind you. This could be a really big pillow as well. Now, if you do have an extra cushion, just to create a little bit of elevation around where your head will land, that could be super nice. We're not sitting on the bolster. We're a couple of, maybe a fist back from the bottom of the bolster. We're starting to peel ourselves down as our rebound here and stepping the feet wide and dropping the knees into center and then allowing the arms to drape out wide. Let's give into the field of gravity here. And let its presence flow around you and press down upon you, allowing you to feel supported and grounded by the props underneath you. And starting to wiggle the fingers and maybe windscreen wipering the knees from side to side. Eventually bringing the feet together and just rolling onto your favorite hip in a fetal position and hugging the knees in, rounding the spine, drawing the chin towards the chest, and just anchor yourself for, say, a few moments and a few breaths. And then beginning to support yourself with your free arm and pressing into the earth, and eventually make your way up into an all fours position with your head facing forward. If you're like me and just need to get your props out of the way, do that. It's okay. And I don't know whether you've noticed, but my puppy dog has decided to join me and she's right in the way, but that's okay. So from our tabletop position, let's just take a freedom of movement through our spine. We call these cows and cats, chin to chest. And these can be beautiful spinal flows, like fluid water flowing through the back body. The neck could get involved, head tilts, hip circles, shoulder rolls, tuck toes, untuck toes. I don't mind. The encouragement would be to close down your eyes and really let this be a felt experience in your body. I'm feeling a real flush along the back body here as the stagnancy of the postures is replaced by this vitality and the freedom and the flow of movement. And it's really nourishing. Wide-kneed child's pose. Big toes touch, knees open out wide. Props you might like to use could be pillows or bolsters between the thighs. I'm going to grab my bolster. And I'm just going to place a block at the top so my head's elevated so I can talk into the microphone. It's such a nurturing pose. It's got all of those elements of winter about it. You're snuggled, you're cuddled, you're held. You feel safe. And you feel really settled. And you let go of any areas where you're gripping or holding, and that can be done by that witness state of mind where you scan the body from the soles of your feet through to the crown of your head and all the way through to your third eye. So even in this pose, we are encouraging bladder, momentary clipping of the meridians across the backs of the knees, and then the compression created by our thighs and calves coming to touch also allows for palpation into those tissues. Compression of water causes an immense amount of force and movement. And shifting the dynamic of stagnancy in the body. Encouraging chi to flow freely and unencumbered. The breath can feel really nourishing if you visualize it as expanding across the upper back. Almost like an accordion playing the movement of the artist's hands. And that expansion and contraction. Movement of the breath. And those muscles between each rib, the intercostals, pulsating with vitality and fresh energy. As we wear our busyness as a badge of honor, we also tend to suffer our stress as a daily occurrence. And the interesting thing about the yin practice is there is a degree of stress applied to the body, but it's healthy, it's manageable, and its application is a beneficial one. The stress that we suffer on a day-to-day basis is almost of a medium level now. This hum in the background, like white noise. And these slower practices with their more deliberate attention to staying and stillness help us to illuminate what doesn't any longer serve us. And in that process of illuminating that thought or the memory or emotion, and thank it for whatever it taught you, even though those lessons can be incredibly painful and difficult to understand at the time. Allow them to disappear with the flow of water away and through, off and over. And final few moments here. You're starting to re-emerge in your body and wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, and just pressing your way up so you're sitting back on your heels. And slide the blocks and bolsters out of the way. Sit on your favorite hip and swing the legs around to the front of the room. So a seated forward fold now, caterpillar. Props. Could be nothing, or you could grab a small cushion for under the buttocks or even some blocks. Elevating the hips can be beneficial. Bending the knees can be helpful. Supporting under the knees can be super helpful. Placing something padded on the knees to help you fold here can be enjoyable too. So you find what works for you and see if you can avoid pulling or holding or tugging and just letting yourself round into the field of gravity. One of the most beneficial lessons from the yoga practice is comparison is not valuable. There are moments in our lives where comparison is useful. Signing up for a new utility plan or internet provider, comparing to work out the best deal for you. Those are moments when it's of value. But comparing how this pose is right now compared to maybe 10 years ago or 25 minutes ago, as we did this similar pose in a different orientation. Yoga explores the concepts of being connected to the present moment as the only moment that exists. Living in the past or hypothesizing about the future are not valuable, are not helpful in experiencing the now. Last few moments. Deep stretch for the bladder meridian all along the back body. You can almost trace it from the soles of your feet through the back of the Achilles heels and the calves and the hollows of the knees and the tissues of the backs of the thighs and the buttocks, up the spine, over the back of the neck, rising across the top of the head and down towards the third eye between the eyebrows. Nice work. Starting to lift yourself up and away. Removing your props. Right knee bends, sole of right foot in the upper left thigh for seated tree. Once more, you might like to prop up the outer right knee. Lengthen the left leg down and along your mat. You could use your blocks to support your arms as you fold down your left thigh and left leg. And then one leg, that left leg, we have a flushing sensation, a movement of freedom and flow. And with your mind's eye awareness and observer mindset, you can see how the right leg with its flexion at the knee, creating a dam, a blockage, momentarily controlling the movement of the fluidity. Mirroring the asymmetries in our bodies that occur in all different ways. If you're picking anything up in the microphone, it's the sound of my dog snoring at the moment. All she wants to be is next to me no matter what. Slowly starting to roll back up. Sitting up now, it might feel nice just to give yourself a lean back here. Lean into the bones of your body. They're so yin. Proud the chest. And magically switch it over. So bend the left knee, extend the right leg long. Prop underneath the left knee and roll down your right leg. And the last 10 breaths. Slowly starting to lift yourself up and away and leaning back into the bones of the body. Move your blocks and bolsters off to one side. In fact, have the bolster on your left-hand side. Lie down on your mat, on your back. And give yourself a cuddle. Lengthen the left leg down and away along your mat. Hug the right knee in. Use your bolster as a pillow to support the knee as you draw it across your body. Rotate through the spine. Shift the pelvis. And stack one hip on top of the other. Place the hands wherever you wish. Roll the head in whatever direction serves you. Slowly starting to guide the knee back in towards your center, lengthening it back out that leg and switching it over, sliding the bolster over your body. Hugging the left knee in and drawing it over to the right. Bring the knee back to center. Hugging both the knees in now. And then extending the arms and the legs directly up to the ceiling and flailing the legs and the arms around. Just let all of that energy fly out that might just be needing just to be removed before we head into our Shavasana. So one more lovely big cuddle in fact, create a little bit of tension. Hug in, hug in, hug in. And from that tension, allow the length to unfold you, unravel you, and settle you down. You're almost like a block of ice on the sidewalk on a hot summer's day, melting down and away. And that icky, gooey blue ink color full of vitality and freedom. Flow and creativity. you are ready to move on with the rest of your day, wiggle your fingers and wriggle your toes and sigh out your mouth. And roll onto your favorite hip. Hug yourself in and bathe yourself in love and gratitude. Thank yourself for showing up today. Swing your way around to a comfortable seat of your choice. I'm not fussy what that shape looks like. And just recalibrate, retool in this upright position. And the season of winter is about nourishment. And as this is a deep winter experience here in my hometown, it's nice to be inside and covered in a way. So making it the most yin of all of the seasons. The kidneys are such a vital organ and essential in the traditional Chinese medicine pantheon. And they are vital to our body, so that makes them the yin element organ. When we think of the bladder and that's watery realm and that's remover of waste, so it's that yang element, less essential. And as we've clipped them through our practice today in moments of compression and extension, we've facilitated freedom and flow with the vital chi through our body, mapping and coursing new lines of energy. Bringing your palms to touch and then rubbing them together super fast, creating lots of warmth. And once you feel nice and warm on the palms, place them over the eyes. Darken into that inky, deep blue color. And then as you slowly start to blink open the eyes, you slowly peel the hands away, welcoming yourself back into your space, into the brightness of the day, or the darkness of the night, depending on when you're practicing. From Coco and myself, who she's been very good here, slept the whole way. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again real soon. Bye for now.